so sorry. Welcome everyone to the LCS post-game lobby.
We got some new chairs.
Sorry, but Yamato just did something really funny, which you guys haven't seen. So this is out of context, so snap out of it, Chunks. I'm actually crying. Welcome, Yamato. Congratulations. Please tell us about your win.
Thank you very much. It was fun. It was exciting to pick Draven against Misfits.
Tell me about that. Was this Attila's idea, or was this you asking him, or propping him on to pick that versus Hansama?
I think it's just, you know, we might face Misfits in playoffs. We just want to get into their head to top of the season. And I think it worked today.
This is
Are
so
you
cool
sitting
to
in
hear.
that chair, or are you like standing?
I'm living in this chair.
Hold on, guys. I just stopped laughing at it. In any case, I love that you say that. So the mind games are starting. If you were to meet them, then of course you could pick up this Draven. But it was pretty risky, is what I said when we covered it with Guipo and the Fish Show, the picks and men's. They said, well, if it doesn't work out, you're in a bind because that Misfits composition, team fighting-wise after level 6, is really, really good. So were you aware of those risks?
I think the team composition is very easy to kite. They are very heavy on CC, so Merc Threads is like super great. They have a lot of magic damage, and if Varus is getting shut down, they don't have physical damage, and our itemization becomes very, very easy. Of course, always when you pick Draven, if you fall behind, then it's going to be tricky. But that's a risk you have to take, right? We're pretty much coming into the game, we are the ones with the gun. So if we shoot and miss, then of course, it's our fault. So I like this type of draft.
Yeah.
Right. I was going to ask if Misfits had something in return to hit with, but I was actually more specifically around mid lane in the early game, because when you guys were camping bot, I kept screaming up even like, okay, surely now Misfits you can get something mid then. You first pick a Kali, you get to level 6, you have Sejuani, you force Flash from LeBlanc, and yet they allowed you guys to have double control ward in the river brushes. They allowed Jisuke just to chill, free farm, walk bot lane if you wanted to, while Kick is just hard camp bot. Like, Misfits were supposed to get something there.
He's trying to ask a question, but he just wants to say that he's super disappointed.
I want to set it up properly,
Wait,
give
he
the
voted
context.
Misfits? That's what I'm hearing.
He did vote Misfits.
I did vote
am your
Misfits, but
friend.
come
I
on,
voted
surely
Misfits.
Misfits should have been able to get some sort
I
of
vote
advantage.
Vitality, don't worry.
Like,
Well,
they should have been able to get something.
Of course, Misfits with Akali Sejuani, they have a very strong 2v2. Akali, when she reaches level 6, she has a massive power spike. Before that, she barely exists. They tried, they burnt the flash, and afterwards they had some downtime. I think it matters as well that Braum had a lot of prio in the bot lane, because Thresh didn't really have a lot of space to move. And when Braum can be the first in the river and Olaf is in a good state, then we're just controlling the river as 3. And of course, their game plan should be to pressure through mid into bot to relieve pressure. But if we are ahead on tempo, then they can't do it because we were just so far ahead on the bot side.
And I buy into all of that, except for the moments when you are busy diving bot lane with Olaf and the Braum, and Maxwell is sitting next to a brush and doesn't even walk into the brush to check for the ward. And
So
I'm
let
like,
me put it differently. This is not what we would expect from a team that went undefeated in the first half of the summer split.
they just look lost
Yes.
in the early game, which was their strength before. So this to me was not a Mickey or Jess's kind of game because they never even got to late game. So
However, you did think that the Thresh, that isn't necessarily Mickey's play, but the pick for the Thresh you also did not love.
I think it was very risky, especially because I feel like you then have to play around the Thresh lane often if you really want to make it work. But I think it could make sense with the Akali pick specifically. Anyway, like for me, the point was just we didn't even get to see if the late game was better for Misfits because they never properly got there. But in the early game, when they get hard stomp bot lane, like I need your first pick Akali plus your Sejuani to do something mid lane. I'm not blaming players specifically. I just need that to happen. And it never happened.
I think that makes sense. Attila made player of the game with 50% of the votes. So, yeah, that was a scary Draven from him, Foxtrot.
It was scary, and against Hans Summer as well. It's just
That's
juicy.
adding insult to injury.
I think, honestly, though, Vitality did a really good job of playing around him. And I think that's why he just was able to do what he did. Not to take anything away from him, obviously.
No.
But I was kind of shocked a few times when Vitality just flat out dove the enemy bot lane, Misfits bot lane,
Olaf
just from
just kept
full
going.
health. Like there was like one time at level 4 where Olaf was just like, I guess I'm just going to run into the bot lane, sit behind the bush, and I'm like, surely not, mate. You're not going to go for this one, and he did go for it. And I was just like, it seemed to me, I'll look at that and I'm like, wow. So
Why are you grinning so much at that?
Ganking and banking. It's
yeah, exactly. And it's just like so. Yeah, how do you stop that? Because they were under their tower. It seemed like they were in a decent spot to not expect that kind of stuff. And for me, I want to ask you a follow-up question for this one. Is this Kikis? Because when I look at him play, he feels like he does things that other junglers wouldn't think about. And he himself says, oh, I'm such an intelligent jungler, which is something you can't say about yourself, by the way. Kikis, if you're watching this, you just can't say it.
You can.
you can kick it.
Self-branding right there.
Okay, you can say it. We'll give you a pass. But honestly, like, because this Kikis came in from Gilius, and so you've seen how these two different junglers play, how these two different junglers think. Is this honestly just like Kikis being how he says he is, as if that makes sense?
I think Kikis has a lot of experience, and I think that's, of course, valuable in any way. I think when you have this type of experience, you're willing to take risks, because diving always comes with risk. If you do something wrong, you're going to die, you're going to look stupid, and that's the case. And I think when it comes to experienced players, they know that if they're going to stay back and play like, for example, I know some of the players in, I'm not going to mention their names. It's too
That
bad.
was close.
That was close. It's too sad, they're not in playoffs. But when you have a player that has so much experience, he played in 2 finals, won 1, and he's been around for as long as I have. Like he played WCG, got 2nd place back in, what was it, 2011?
11, yeah.
Something like that, beat COG, Hotshot GG and all those guys. And he's been around for a long time. And I think you reach a point where you understand the risk that you're taking and you can trust your teammates around you. You know that they're going to mechanically perform. And I think that's the atmosphere I put Kikis into. So he has the tools to do it. And he's the perfect guy to take these tools and make it happen.
I love the fact that Olaf is back,
Yeah.
and that fits Kikis so
Like
well.
a glove. And he needed something. I think you'll be welcoming that, because we have seen that Trundle was far and away Kikis' best champion, and when he got taken away, not that he was awful, but it's just not the same. And I feel like Olaf feels like you have an extra card up your sleeve now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect for Kikis.
well, this is the
No
thing.
comment.
It is
I mean,
a
he's a
Kikis
coach. He's
champion.
going to say, Trundle wasn't even close to his
Yeah,
face. He has
yeah.
10 other picks
Oh
prepared.
dear, we know.
10, 15,
20, we can play anything.
All
bring the
right.
champion list.
I'm going to interrupt you guys for just a second, because due to this last result, there are implications for the race for first, the fight for first, rather. Here is Medic's playoffs checkup.
Super 6.
Thank you very much, Shox. And we are here for my playoff checkup, where we're going to break down exactly what is going on in playoffs at the moment. We're going to have a look at the standings to kick us off. And as you'll see, the fight for first is still very much on. Fnatic are sitting in the top spot as they took their win today, but G2 are still hot on their heels, sitting at 12-5 alongside Schalke. Now, you might wonder why I put G2 before Schalke. It's because even if Schalke win tomorrow and Fnatic lose, and they're both tied at 13-4, Schalke lose the head-to-head to Fnatic. So Schalke can no longer get first spot because they have lost to Fnatic twice this split. G2, however, have gone 1-1 with Fnatic, so could catch them up if that happened. Misfits, because they lost, can no longer catch Fnatic, so they are now in the battle for the bye, in the battle for the road to Madrid for that 2nd spot, alongside Vitality, and Splice are locked in 6th spot. We're going to have a look at exactly what games are important for us tomorrow. So starting off, Giants versus Splice. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be very enjoyable to watch, but it doesn't have implications in the fight for first or in the battle for the bye. H2K versus Schalke does. Schalke are looking for that win. If they can get that win, they're very much in contention for that 2nd spot. Misfits versus Roccat, again, has huge implications. If Misfits can win, they are still looking for that 2nd spot, even if they're eliminated from first, and they would go on that road to Madrid straight into the semi-finals. Fnatic versus Unicorns is probably the biggest match of the day. If Fnatic lose that, it's all open. G2 can still get first, 2nd place is still up for grabs, but if Fnatic win, they lock themselves in 1st spot in the regular split. And then to round us off, Vitality versus G2. What a match to end it all. The winner of that is in a great position for 2nd spot, and the loser is probably looking near the bottom of that top 6. 5th or 4th is probably where they're going to end up. That's it from the checkup for now, but make sure you tune in tomorrow. We're going to jump back straight across to PGL.
Thank you very much, Medic. Well, there we go. We started off with a fight for first that was very much open between 5 teams. We've ended up where it's not that open anymore. It's all up to G2, really, right? So.
It really is, yeah.
And we were talking about this during the segment, Yamato, and you were like, of course, a bye is nice, but third is also fine. So can you repeat to me what your ideal route to the finals is?
Well, I think in this case, I think what is realistic for us because of the schedule is that we get third place after some tiebreakers. And I think looking how the bracket is going to unfold, it's pretty much we face Splice first, and then we face Schalke, and then the final is Fnatic if they beat G2, which I think they will. And in that case, I'm very happy because I think we will face the weaker of the teams and avoid the tough ones.
Let's lay that. What do you guys think of that, Foxtrot? Do you see Vitality getting to the final if it's Splice, Schalke, and then final?
I think in current form, honestly, the top 5 look really close. I should say the top 5 bar Fnatic. I think Fnatic seem on another level, but out of Vitality, Misfits, G2, Schalke, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this considering how they played in the first half of the split, but Misfits honestly look pretty crap now,
Yeah.
really.
Look at the worst of the 16.
Yeah.
Based on current
Or
form.
even Splice, you think they're
Yeah.
better than
Right,
Well,
right
all right.
now,
But
I
had a good game
100%.
today. Like,
All right.
we almost won against
Yeah,
Schalke.
I mean, I think the game has slowed down a bit for most of the teams, maybe not Vitality specifically. Kobe is doing well on whatever AD carry you put him on. Like, I think actually Splice at the moment looks stronger than Misfits.
All right.
So going into playoffs, Misfits have a lot they still need to work on.
That is, see, that's just something that blows my mind. How you can go from being a 10-0 team, 10-0 team.
Yeah.
The storyline we were running, but when I was back here just like a few trips ago, was Misfits, Fnatic. Yeah, I said it right the first time.
Maxlor doing great. Handsome.
Well, Misfits Fnatic, it was the matchup. Fnatic wants to stop Misfits getting the perfect split because Fnatic were the only team who'd done it before. And now we're sitting here saying Misfits are so bad at League of Legends that they're the worst of the teams who've qualified.
Okay, so that's still pretty good.
Right,
let's
okay,
not
okay.
overdo
Bad
it
of the
with
great.
horribleness,
Yeah, okay.
because, I mean,
you are the get 'em on the pigeons, as
yes.
we would say.
Now, a couple of follows up. We have said this about Misfits a couple of times before playoffs. I do want to make people remember that fact. And we've said a couple of times, well, Misfits won't do anything in playoffs. I don't see how they can recover. And they came back and they were very good in playoffs. So what do we think is this possible scenario now? Yamato, maybe from a coach, do you think it's salvageable for them like it was in years past?
Sometimes the most annoying problem might have the most simple solution. Like they're trying some things with Jesses, and I don't know what the working of the inside is for Misfits. I just thought it was so strange. They were undefeated, and the moment a loss happened against Fnatic, they got Wukonged, and then they had nightmares, and everything just fell apart after that Wukong game. And to have that in consideration, I don't know. It's such a short amount of time. I don't think they're going to get a bye. Quarters is already next week, and I think in Misfits' position, I think that's very, very scary.
So is Misfits, of course, you cannot just forgo the playoffs, but they then already have to start thinking about, Worlds is also on the horizon, so they can't let that doubt now seep in, because even if they bomb out of playoffs, they have to get it back together because they have to perform in that gauntlet. I would love to know from you as a coach, what did you make then of the whole, all right, Jesus goes in for 1 week. He tweeted yesterday night, we have identified our core issues and we'll be better, so we'll put Mickey X back in. What do you think of the whole situation?
I think that was a very strange decision. Of course, I can only speak from the outside perspective. I think Mickey X individually is one of the best supports we have in
You know him
Europe.
so well.
Yeah, and he talks less than some of the other players. But I think, as support, I think he's fantastic. And I think it's very dangerous to make such a decision that you can't commit to. Because right now he's in the position where his team or whoever made the decision has less trust in him. And if you're a player in that position, how do you work with that? And I think now that he came back, I think this situation, nothing good came out of it, putting Jesses on stage. They should have lost against H2K even.
Just to compare it 1 second to other things, you guys took out Gilius. We don't know exactly what happened there. All we know is that Gilius is gone. So you have to be a pretty strong player to deal with that, I think. And that is where the risk comes in for a team like Misfits. I mean, they hopefully have had a relationship with Mickey, and he comes back and he's more confident. But yeah, it's very interesting.
I mean, it's the first time he's been benched, so
Yeah.
we don't actually know how he reacts to that. Some players react very poorly. Suddenly they feel way more pressure, they feel betrayed, whatever it is, they lose motivation. Other players say, you know what, I got benched for 1 week, I'm going to work even harder, I'm going to fix this. But I think from everything Misfits said publicly, they were like, we have no late game. Like, it's just gone. We get past 20 minutes and everything seems to fall apart. We need someone who can actually try and work on this problem. and Jess's was in their mind the solution. We have to assume in scrims it made sense or for them to commit to it on stage a week ago. So I have to trust in an organization who's done very well in the past, who's actually built a team that's gone to Worlds with young players and Hussein as the head coach. I don't think they just do this randomly.
Yeah.
And while it might not have worked today, I want to see a game where they don't get hard stomped bot lane. Because this was not a 2v2 mistake, but this was a great game plan from Vitality and absolutely no response from Misfits elsewhere on the map. So I just want to see at least another game of them not losing bot lane super hard. Do we then get a cleaner Misfits? Like, we're obviously losing a bit of faith.
Yeah, but Deficia, we are 1 week away from playoffs.
Exactly.
They will not likely get the bye. So this is why we are being, I guess, so judgmental of them, because they are a playoff team and they were a team that looked unstoppable, right? So it looks to me a bit like a confidence lost issue. As you say, like they lost the plot after that Wukong game, after that loss, and they never got it back. And that's often one of the hardest things to get back without like a changing event, without, you know, a great game that you win. But if you go tomorrow, if you don't win convincing, and if you lose the first game in your best of 5, you know. But
I was just surprised they stepped away from the winning recipe, which was super strong bot lane 2v2 and Maxlaw playing around bot first, which secured roams to mid, which helped Senkooks, which was the setup. Afari was on a tank. He was on a tank today, so obviously they went back to it. I think we need to highlight that. They tried at least to go back to it a bit also with the Varus pick, but for like 3-4 weeks they stopped doing that. It was carry top laners, it was play to that lane. Hansama was barely in the game. You didn't even see him anymore. And then they actually never snowballed the same way, which then forced him to play late game, which is not good.
I feel like as a 10-0 team, you think you're in a position where, okay, do we have weaknesses? Let's find out if we do.
Exactly, that's what they tried, yeah.
Right, so they drafted these scenarios where we'll be uncomfortable here, but it will test us, and then we'll get all our buttons pushed, and we'll see which ones hurt the most, you know? And that worked a little too well, because now everything hurts for Misfits, you know? They went 1-6 in the last 7 games, which is from being 10-0 isn't great. It's like they tried to make it hard for them so they could learn, and never really got back to the point where, okay, we can stop now.
I'd like to button it up because, you know, they're not doing too well unless you have a last remark to make.
I just wanted to say, like, to add to my previous remarks, that everything is just speculation, right?
Yes.
And I think Misfits, their coaching staff has a lot of history.
Yep.
So everyone's going to walk into playoffs. Every single team is not going to think, oh, Misfits is bad. No one's going to think that, because there is a big chance that they just step it up, they solve their issues, because they have that history. So there is still trust, and I wouldn't say, oh, Misfits is over, GG, they are over.
Underestimating
I
them
would
is the
never think like
biggest
this.
mistake.
I trust a lot in their prep. It's very, very smart players, a lot of veterans now. Veterans, like at least someone who's gone to Worlds, you know, who's been playing big games before. So they will look better in playoffs than they look now, for sure.
All right, so we are always drawn to a team that is struggling. I think that's only natural. But let's talk a bit about the positives and then pinpoint the positive players or the best performing players in the search for the MVP of the split and the possible candidates. Let's throw out some names and let's get it over with. Caps. So raise of hands if you think Caps should be the MVP of the split. Okay.
Raise your hands if you thought that right from the beginning. Oh, Piers,
It's hard to say.
you went for Mixlaw, mate. You went for Maxlaw.
Okay,
Can I
that
just
one is
point that
fair.
out?
I can find you a German interview I did with, I think it was Kicker or something.
Yeah.
Where I say to the great guy who I'm talking to, I say, I will already now nominate Caps as my MVP. This was before week 1.
He did
Right.
that.
Before
I
week
have
1, does that
proof.
count?
I mean,
It's an easy bet.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Also,
but like,
you lost your credibility now that you voted for Misfits in this one, anyways.
Yeah,
Like, it's
I
it's a
seem to
scale.
remember on the old wall back here that there was a Max
that
Law
was when they
symbol
were
with you and
8-9-0.
Veddy.
So-
Fair
Just
enough.
saying.
I
Fair
don't want to just
enough.
brush it under. So,
You
Yamato,
did, Caps.
why does Caps deserve MVP?
I think Caps as a player, why Deficia's prediction was so easy to make. It's just that
Tough to make, mate.
with kick. The thing is, Caps as a player, he's the one. He plays without fear. Like when he came onto the scene, he played his first split. He played against Perks. He did the outplays. He played on very small margins, and he sometimes died for it. But he kept going. He never lost his confidence. He didn't tone it down. He was in the shape like beginning when Perks came in as well. He was also the type of wide player that was willing to just play on very small margins. And I think Caps has continued to do so, and I think that has very much put him above the edge when it comes to the comparison between Caps and Perks. And I think he's continued to play so. And at the same time, Fnatic are insane at playing around Caps. This was a big issue of theirs.
Yep.
In spring,
Oh, yeah.
at Worlds, they couldn't play around Caps. They just left them alone, 1v2, good luck in esports, Caps. But now, Hylissang has more mid lane and Brox has more mid lane than he is anywhere else.
heaven for him.
And, you
It's all
know,
the luck in esports now, man. He's getting
pretty much.
everything.
Like
He's
everyone's
getting
helping
everything.
him, everyone's funneling all the resources. Hylissang with his spike, they are very good at playing around Caps, and I think that also makes him shine as a player. So Fnatic as a team and Caps as a player, I think they are really pushing Caps forward.
Can you make a case for anyone else on Fnatic? I've heard people say Hylissang is having one of the best splits of his life.
Oh, yeah.
But sadly, you're always in the shadow of your mid laner.
I mean, Hylissang really fits with the current Fnatic lineup very, very well because it is a lot about heavy skirmish, you know, force plays, and again, play towards the mid lane, and he's a very good roaming support. So I think in terms of impact, yeah, Hylissang has done really, really well. Broxa would be another one that people, again, if I have to pick a
We'll say
Fnatic
Broxa,
guy,
yeah.
Yeah.
like Broxa is, as Youngbug and the coaches say, like he's like the backbone of Fnatic.
For sure.
And like he's extremely consistent, and you can't funnel gold into Caps unless the guy's funneling is actually doing their job properly. Because if he just messes up and dies in an early gank or whatever, Caps will not be able to do the same because the enemy jungler is suddenly ahead and will start, applying pressure. That only happened one game against Vitality. Specifically, I think otherwise Brox has been rock solid. But to me, rock solid is not MVP. That's the guy who wins you the game, and that's Caps.
That's Cap's most valuable player, I said. And I think the fact that he is so flashy and he has these small margins makes everything also look spectacular, what he does. And I mean, that works in his favor. But let's talk a bit about other people. It is very hard. It's all against Caps. But if we're thinking top 3, is there anyone from your team you'd like to nominate there? You guys will, of course, get to vote.
I think our bot lane has been phenomenal. I think they're in the running for best bot lane in Europe. I think they managed to play the casters, the ADs at another level. They were competing. You know, Yarnan had his Heimerdinger moment, but I think even in that case, when everyone was playing APs, they were competing very hard for best bot lane in Europe. I think, when I look at the other players, I think coming into playoffs, we are reaching peak form. So, with Cabo Shot in mind, and it's so hard to speak about because I don't want to reveal anything.
Yeah,
There's so
of course.
many
So he's
intricate details.
versatile. Let's put it
I'm
that
walking
way.
one direction, then I want to turn around because I don't want to talk about it.
Well, Kawashar did carry a couple of games in the beginning of the split. We know he can. I don't think you're giving anything away.
I think Cabo Shot, as a leader for the team, is so solid because his experience is really shining through. He is making the calls, and he has always a clear mind in game. And I think for a bunch of guys that are very emotional, they came from Giants, they're screaming a lot.
Is
There's
that less
so many
now, by
clips.
the way? Have you controlled that a bit?
It's like we're all controlling it a little
You
bit.
added
yeah.
Kikis, who's also a screamer.
Doom Players is coming out. Also, I heard when Kikis secured that 50-50 Baron,
Yeah.
he slammed the table and he screamed,
A bit
"No
of
one
passion is
50-50
good.
is me."
A bit of
I love
passion is
that.
good.
We can have those moments, but you also need an anchor that pulls you back in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Cabo is. And I could sit here and waste all PGL time and talk about how much I love my players.
It wouldn't
but
be
let's
wasted.
leave it at that.
But let's open it up to, is there anyone on the other team? Of course, here we have the front runners on, not front runners officially, but the guys we always talk about that are doing well.
Oof.
The Nuke Duck. But we've talked a lot about with Schalke how difficult it is to pick one person. And even though it's the year of the duck and all that, that all those guys are carrying their weight and they don't have one shining star. Is that agreed on or
I would say upset.
upset?
I think upset.
Really well.
Recently, yeah.
Upset played
Sure.
good when they were bad as well. Like
Yeah.
he was playing, he's been solid throughout the split. He played Vladimir, Rise at a good level. Like when you expect a player that only plays AD and he picks Rise,
Yeah.
you start to giggle at them most of the time. Like, what is he doing? He's missing Q there, he's there, he's just making
Some
mistakes.
mid laners do that as well.
But I think, yeah, that's true. But
He's
all
a
in all,
top 380 carry now.
yeah, for sure. I think Upset has been the most consistent star of Schalke. And I think coming into their peak form, I think he also kept performing.
He's like the secret shining star. I think he flew a bit under the radar because he had been ill last split, so everyone was taking it easy on him, and he just took his time.
I think what's cool about Upset is what he's doing right now. He was such a high-touted prospect coming into the professional scene. How old is he? Is he like 18? He's one of the younger guys,
Probably,
right?
yeah.
He's really young. And when he was just coming in, everyone's like, this is the new guy. He's the new AD carry. He's the new Reckless. He's going to come through. He's going to take the league by storm, which he never quite did.
was Vitality.
But I think that the bar was set so high right from when this guy, even before he got into the league, just from what other people were saying, that now that he's actually reached the bar, I think that it's like, maybe it's like finally he is where he should be.
When I just remembered, you talked about your route. You see Splice, Schalke, and then the final against Fnatic.
Yeah.
Epic grudge match there, because Attila, he doesn't hate upset, of course, but he is so fiery about that rivalry. And you guys, if you don't know the context, last year or at the beginning of the year, we were hyping upset like crazy, and Attila was like, "Why is no one talking about me? I'm the hot here. I'm the guy who's going to do it." And he was the last AD carry standing of the new guys, right, Attila? So that would be a very interesting match.
It would be very hype. I think last split, Attila outperformed him. I think Schalke had a lot of problems, and I think Attila will continue to do so. I hope we get to play against him, because Attila gets fired up in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think if it comes down to that matchup, it's going to be the deciding matchup.
So I will just tell you already, our scriptwriter backstage, Evan, he loves upset versus Attila.
So he loves that rivalry.
As a rivalry. And right now he's hearing you say all this. It's
He's
literally
writing.
going into the script already, and we don't even have the playoff game locked
grab
in
the
yet.
sound
Fisho,
bite
can
is-
you do us a favor? Because this is how you make all the memes.
How is
that,
it a meme?
That are scripted,
We,
and then
we
if we
do
talk about it-
storylines, everyone. We agree on storylines.
Yeah.
It's called
it's
a script.
all out in the open. Caps is someone that we like, okay? You
Stop
all
reading
know
the
it
prompter
now.
there, please.
Yes.
Can I just
Fisho
add
is
something
great. What? Who
about...
took over the... Did you write that in the script?
Maybe. Evan did. But can I talk about Nuke Duck soon?
Okay,
like-
go ahead.
I know Upset the last few weeks has been like the standout carry in some of the late game moments here. And while he was good in the first half, like no criticism towards him. Like to me, Nuke Duck, for the vast majority of this winning streak from Schalke, was the star player. Now, the reason his case for being MVP actually gets smaller and smaller is because so many other players on Schalke are doing much better this
Yeah.
split. One part is maybe on key specific champs or whatever, but Schalke as a team functions so much better now. They don't need one player to do well. And when we had Upset here last week on PJ, he kept talking about how Nuke Duck and his calls, Nuke Duck is so good when he's playing these different assassins, and like it's so easy to play with him. Like we obviously don't see that from the outside, but that's a lot of praise as well given to a guy who has to perform mechanically on assassins and can then also make calls individually. So to me, Nuke Duck is the star player, but they don't need a shining star.
Yeah.
They actually have now 5 players who are all playing at a high enough level to be one of the best teams in Europe.
And arguably, that's the best way to go into playoffs, because shut any of the other superstars down, and you will see that a lot of the team's potential will fall.
Yeah, it's
by
like
margin,
Vitality
right?
now.
Yeah.
Like last split, we did say they relied too much on Jizuke to carry games, which was true for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's no longer the case. Like Jizuke can play a fine game, and then it's Attila or Kikis or
Last game,
Kabusha.
case in point. Yeah.
Exactly, that was all about the bot lane. So I think both Schalke and Vitality, by having more players performing well, have just become more well-rounded and better teams overall that are harder to just shut down like this.
And I'm looking forward to
If I can become a mini Fisho, if I will, and hype up Nuke Duck myself
Yeah.
too,
Please go ahead.
would you say?
there's 3 things that I would put into Nuke Duck's basket right here. The first of which is that he is a carry that can carry, right? You said yourself, the MVP candidate is a guy that will win you the game. Nuke Duck is definitely one of them. Even though he can't, there other people on the team can do the same, he is one of them. Secondly, consistency. He's a ridiculously consistent player. I think that whatever this brings him, wait, scrap that 'cause that's my third point. He's very consistent. Basically, he will always perform. It's like, you're not going to get a bad game out of Nuke Duck, generally speaking. And the third one, the last one, which to me is the most impressive, is his
beard.
diversity.
Oh.
No, that's... the diversity of Nuke Duck is... you can put him on anything. He's played so many things. I believe today's Vladimir pick was the 15th
Yes.
unique champion.
Yes, and that's where it capped. He could only play 14 champions properly. The Vlad.
Yeah, right, the Vlad was capped. But
He didn't feel well on.
that's so impressive, that's the champion pools can be a problem when people can only play 2 or 3 champions, and he's sitting on his 14th champion.
Yeah.
Like, that's
I mean,
ridiculous.
the interesting thing is also with champion pools, it's also what you want to show, because I'm pretty sure that there's I'm also thinking about Vital. There's probably players on some teams, but also the fact that he just pulls them out, it's like, you know what, I'm very confident that I could play this to a T and win it is impressive to me. Now, we are talking for quite a bit, and we haven't even touched on Misfits and G2. I just want to ask the open question if we think of top 3 of MVP, are any of those 2 in the top 3? And then I think you'd want to make a case for Perks just out of pedigree and out of history.
Out of funnel.
Out of funnel? See, but that's the question. So what do you think, Yamato?
I think Perks is good. I think Caps and Nuktak, I think they perform better than him. And I think it's tricky to look at Perks because you expect so much of him. Like when I think of Perks at his peak, I remember his Worlds performances, and I remember previous splits, and he was so ahead of the competition. And I feel like he's kind of in the position that Bjergsen is that he's kind of taking a step back, and he has more of an even competition more than before. So it's always hard for me to view Perks because I compare him to his past self. And right now I feel like he has more competition than he ever has had. Unless, don't quote me on that.
That's fair.
Well,
That's
I mean,
fair.
the hard thing often when you do MVPs is it's so natural to think mainly about the last couple of weeks instead of remembering the entire split. And if we go like the first couple of weeks, like he played funnel to perfection.
Perfection.
Like he was insane in those games, and it was like, yeah, Perks #1 right there, you know, for who's the most valuable player at the moment when they were 6-0. So I think looking full split, a case for top 3 in MVP for Perks, yes, would not put him first. Hans Sama being the other person over there, no, not for me. Great first start as well, but completely missing in the second half. Not the case for Perks.
Alrighty. I think we've said a lot about the MVPs. We'll all get to vote as well, the teams as well. So it's be hard. I think maybe. Well, we want to keep it exciting. So who's it gonna be the MVP? We don't know.
Yamato Cannon.
The crazier things have happened.
Taylor.
That was funny when we did that, by the way.
Did you think that was funny?
I thought it was funny.
People still scold us for it.
Yes.
Let's do it again. Just kidding. Let's take a look at the schedule for tomorrow, the very last scheduled day of the regular season. Now, if there's any tiebreakers, if there's 2, they'll be played tomorrow after games. If there are more, they'll be played on Sunday. So we'll
It's
see
very
about that then.
unlikely with more now.
Okay, well, we'll see.
think.
In any case, I always like a good tiebreaker, so we'll see. But let's take a look at the schedule. Vitality's up versus G2. Ooh, a little playoff preview, possibly, or maybe you'll dodge them altogether. What do you think?
I think we will beat G2, and then we will face Splice, and then we'll beat...
There we go again.
Okay.
Dude, that game is insane.
Nice.
It's so
Crazy.
important. Like, if for some reason Fnatic lose to Unicorns, G2 beating Vitality ties them with Fnatic. Bam, tiebreak for first place right there. If Fnatic beat Unicorns of Love, G2 still need to win this game to tie Schalke, who we assume will beat H2K earlier, tiebreak for second place
Boom.
and the bye. If they lose, they go down to 4th place, and Vitality get their 3rd one that they won against Splice. Like, there's so many things happening just based on that one game between these 2 guys.
I'm so proud of you for setting the stakes for
I know.
our viewers at home. That
But
was great.
With an asterisk, because I feel like you're writing off H2K. Have we all forgotten as European fans what it feels to be kaboomed?
True. Also, the
It's true.
H216 thing
If
could
Schalke get
happen.
H2K'd,
Yeah, it
then,
could. Honestly,
then
it
it's
could.
crazy. Then everything's
yeah.
off limits.
It would make sense for as a nutty thing
I-
in the playoff.
I
things, yeah.
believe one crazy thing is going to happen tomorrow. I personally
Predicted right now.
I predicted Unicorns of Love to beat
Woo.
Fnatic tomorrow.
What do you think is more likely? Unicorns beating Fnatic or
Yes.
Schalke beat?
That's definitely more
What
likely.
about Rocket versus Misfits?
You reckon?
I don't think it's that big of an upset if Rocket beat Misfits
Okay, so that's not crazy enough.
That's fair. That's
That's
fair.
not crazy enough.
right now. But also,
What if Vitality beat G2? They're crap.
let's just not go
Oh,
down a
sorry,
rabbit
mate, I
hole.
didn't mean
I'm trying to beat you in the predictions.
Oh, that's not
what
hard.
I'm doing.
You could go AFK and you'd do that.
Well, more League of Legends. If you want to check it out, the NALCS Academy playoffs is in their 2nd quarterfinal at midnight, starting with CLG versus 100 Thieves. And after that, you'll have the rebroadcast of everything EU LCS. So that is great. Thank you all for joining me, Yamato. Finally having you on PGL.
Yay. I was cursed.
You were cursed before,
was
like
cursed.
the POV stream, but we had you here. It was
And
lovely.
you get to try new chairs.
Yeah, very comfortable. I'll just sleep here.
Yeah, this is great. Well, we'll just stay here and we'll see you tomorrow.
They're actually very comfortable. Great chair.
We'll be back tomorrow for more action in the ELCS. See you then. Oh yeah, let's all do that.
I can even try and do this.